It all started in the fall of 2005, my freshman year at Anoka High School in Anoka, Minnesota. I was one of roughly 2,000 kids who attended Anoka and one of the 300 plus on the football team. One hot, muggy day in early September, two guys came out to the practice field and asked the offensive and defensive linemen to consider coming out for the wrestling team. They said it would be very beneficial for their football skills, and the wrestling team was in need of some bigger guys. Little did I know at the time, but the big guy with the funny-looking ears who was talking to me was Billy Pierce, a three-time Division I All-American from the University of Minnesota. I also had no idea that this guy would grow to be one of my greatest mentors and best friends. Anyways, back to the story. When I initially heard them talk, I gave it a little thought, but quickly dismissed it, and would have never gone out for the sport of wrestling had it not been for one of the football coaches, who was also a wrestling coach, badgering me throughout the fall. Once football season wrapped up, I decided that I would go out for the sport of wrestling, just to keep myself in shape for the next football season. I had no idea what was coming. The first day of captain's practice, on a Monday after school in early November, we went out for a little 3-mile run. At the time, I could barely run 1 mile without walking, so it was not pretty. After the run, I staggered back into the wrestling room, exhausted. I was expecting everyone to already have head home, and then I turned the corner and saw them in the wrestling room, wrestling. Then someone said, "Hey, put your wrestling shoes on. It's time for practice." I couldn't believe it. I had just run 3 miles, probably the hardest workout I had ever done in my life, and then they expected us to do more. Needless to say, the first couple days were pretty rough. I came to the sudden realization that I had no clue what being in good shape actually meant. Practice and the burning lungs and aching muscles were at the time what I believed the most excruciating pain possible. I had a 7th grader critiquing my technique by telling me that I was an idiot, and also that that is the worst technique that he has ever seen. I was scoffed at by one of the female managers on the team when I said, "Who is Brandon Paulson?" Well, turns out he was a silver medalist in the 1996 Olympic Games and also happened to be one of our coaches. Brandon also coached me up until last year. Anyways, like I said, times were rough. The Friday of that same week, I went home straight from school, skipping practice. I had it set in my mind that I was done. Wrestling wasn't for me. I went to speak to my mother, who, when I told her I was going to join wrestling, said, and I quote, "Ooh, wrestling? Well, I don't know how many of your away games I will make it to." Since then, she has been to over 10 out of the 50 states, simply to watch me compete. Anyways, I wanted to seek some counsel from her, and given her reaction, I had figured she would be okay with my not wrestling. Well, once I told her, I was pretty surprised when she said, "What? Why?" As I described the hellacious week I had, I most likely over-exaggerated on several instances. Either way, her retort was, "Well, I don't know, Jacob. You made a commitment. Why don't you just see what it is like when you have the actual coaches there? Maybe they'll help you learn more." I began to question my decision a little bit, but still said, "I don't know. I just don't think it's for me." Finally, fed up, my mother said, "Well, we've already bought the shoes, so you have to try it for at least a month with the real coaches, and if you don't like it then, we can talk." Ever since that moment, I haven't looked back from the sport of wrestling. Times have been tough, sure, but quitting has never crossed my mind. Every day I thank God for those size 12, black and white, $40 Asics from Sports Authority. Had it not been for those shoes, I may have never experienced what I have today. I have no idea where I'd be, but I'm sure that I wouldn't have had the opportunity to be the first heavyweight state champion for my high school's prestigious wrestling program, nor would I have been able to participate in the Olympic team trials, or be a member of a Division I wrestling team. I would have not met all of the close friends I have today, or had the opportunity to train for a couple months with this guy. While I can't say where I would be had my mother not talked me into sticking with wrestling because they had already bought the shoes, but I can't imagine my life being any better than it is now.